Welcome to the Unscripted podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Conrad, and this show is where we hear the real stories from real people changing the world. From everyday people to the top celebrities, all the conversations are real, raw, and always unscripted. Thank you for joining me today. Now let's get to today's guest. All right, everybody, welcome to Unscripted One-on-One and a interview that is long overdue. It is virtual homecoming week for Mount Vernon, depending on when you're hearing this. And wow, I've been chasing this guy for many weeks, as he would probably say. But man, what an honor today. And honestly, I'm a little giddy. I'm really excited. I got a lot to talk about. My guy, Mr. Coach Mike Wells. I'm not even sure what to call you, but so introduce yourself, tell us about your family, and we'll get started from there.
Yeah, well, Mike Wells, assistant coach with the Jazz here these days. I don't know, Aaron. I mean, it's been, I don't know what year this is, 23 maybe in the NBA and 26 or so coaching overall. And my family is Trenton, who is 13 years old in 7th grade and trying to play hoops every day. And I got a 9-year-old that's in 3rd grade, Troy, that is Mr. Funny Guy. Follow him on TikTok and Instagram.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, I tell you what, we have a lot to get to. And so, and I know I want to be respectful of your time because I know you are incredibly busy. So let me start with this. The first time I met Wells, I remember it like it was yesterday. I again, intramural gym, practice gym, real gym, whatever you call it. I'm sitting there. This guy walks in, and man, he is the life of the party. He's dabbing up everybody.
So that was Voice-Ard?
No, it was you. Like Wells walks in and everybody knew, man, Mike Wells is here. And we didn't know who you were. I mean, you're a local guy, you know.
Yeah,
and
County, go ahead. Call me what you used to.
I didn't know, man. So, all right. And I don't know. And that's a good point. I don't know whether to call you coach or Mike or Wellsy or any of the above. But at the end of the day, man, this guy walks in and you're like, man, that's a guy I want to hang out with. That is a guy I want to know. And so friendship started there. I was thinking about this today. The last time I think you and I met in person was at Sport and Shoes in downtown Mount Vernon. So it's been a minute. But Sport and Shoes in Mount Vernon, I'm standing around a clothes rack. I was actually telling somebody about this morning because you're coming on. And you told a story about Barkley, Tiger Woods, and Michael Jordan that you don't have to tell today if you don't want to, but that's literally the last time I think I saw you. And I don't even remember why we were all in town, but we were there for something. So
it could have been homecoming. I think it might've been homecoming weekend there that one year.
It's been a minute. It really has. And then the other time was I was at a Cavs game. I think this is when you were at the Rockets and walking through the Gund Arena at that time, walking through the concourse, and I ran into your mom. And she's like, hey, I'm like, Mrs. Wells, what are you doing here? She's like, you got to stick. So anyway, man, a lot of great memories. We won't talk about the weekend at Ohio State and the Z24.
I don't know what
we're not going to talk about that today.
Yeah, I don't remember that. It's too long ago. But, basketball for sure. I think the love of basketball, and I know you love basketball, was probably why we met, why we clicked. That time of just coming and starting at the NAS and, just trying to meet everybody and, things in common. And we just played hoops, man. We played ball that year all the time. I loved coming to the gym, and there were so many, great people that wanted to play basketball. And of course we could always find a game somewhere, whether it was there or running down the Kenyon or going down the West Elementary and low hoop. And someplace we were going to, get some hoops in, and those are great times, man. I loved it. I enjoyed it broke the ice for me. I didn't know very many people at the NAS, even though it was in Mount Vernon. I grew up there. Just didn't know a lot of students, and that was one way to get around and meet everybody.
Well, man, you were a legend on campus. I know a lot of people were real excited about today, and I'm really excited to have you on, and I have a million stories. I really do, but it's not about me today. It's about you. So let me start with this. Over the years, especially in the industry that I'm in, and you know, I've had a lot of interns come in, and I do time with them, kind of talking about sports man, because everybody's got this dream of being sports management or a coach or you know, a sideline reporter, and this is a true story. Over the years, I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of interns, and every time I've told your story, and I pray to God I've told it right. Is it so? Why don't you tell the story, and I'll make sure that it is right. But you leave Mount Vernon, and why don't you tell your story about how you ended up in the NBA?
Well, number one, you know, interns, Aaron, it's the key, right? Any way we can meet and greet and getting an internship, and then what avenue that's going to lead to in the sports industry, you have no idea. I mean, we talk about the top jobs, but there's so many jobs within the industry. So for me, you know, to be honest with you, Coach Fleming started the process for me. You know, I was on the team, but, you know, I didn't play a ton. I love basketball. You know, he gave me an opportunity to be on the team. And then once I was there a couple of years, I was pretty much done with school, and he gave me an opportunity to coach. And when I was coaching for him, he said, hey, why don't you go to the United States Sports Academy in Daphne, Alabama, get your master's degree, come back here, coach with me, learn the athletic department. Because I always thought that, hey, I want to coach. I was thinking high school coach, maybe eventually be an athletic director. I was also working at the YMCA there in Mount Vernon, running the youth basketball programs, running soccer programs, running co-ed softball, you know, doing anything you can to be in the gym, right? While I was at the sports academy, I met a girl named Sabrina Brewster that had an internship with the Chicago Bulls. And I was, you know, so naive on it. It's like, hey, Sabrina, how'd you get your internship? And she's like, hey, I wrote a letter to every NFL team and NBA team looking for an internship. Now, remember, this is 1992-ish. Not a ton of interns are working in the sports industry. And I was naive enough. I'm like, oh, that's sweet. I'm going to do that. And I can remember being in the office there in the athletic department at Mount Vernon Nazarene, in the old athletic department, at an office right across from Paul Fury and Coach Fleming. And I wrote a letter to every NBA team on a Thursday. And somehow the Rockets call me back on Monday.
Right.
And basically say, yeah, come on down. And that's how it started. Literally a blind letter, didn't know anybody. And they offered me an internship more on the business side of things. And I thought, yeah, let's do this. If I want to be an athletic director, let me learn about corporate sponsorship and everything behind the scenes in sales, ticket sales, anything that would be on a bigger scale than, you know, what we were doing at Mount Vernon Nazarene.
Right.
And once I got there, there was a new owner, Les Alexander, that had just bought the Rockets, which I didn't know. And there was about 4 or 5 people in the whole department front office for the Rockets at the time. And the season was getting close to start. Needless to say, it was a little bit of a situation where you got to put a lot of different hats on. As an intern, they threw a lot of things at me and let me do things that I probably should never have been involved with. I mean, I'm in corporate sponsorship sales with Pennzoil, you know, 2 weeks after getting there. I've never been in a sponsorship sales meeting in my life,
right?
But I got exposed to it. I also got a chance to meet Rudy Tomjanovich, and the assistant coach was Jim Boylan, who was just the head coach of the Bulls last year. And Jim really took me under his wing. Rudy brought me in, and I kind of transitioned from the front office over to the basketball side. Went from spending the whole year as an intern that first year. We got lucky. We won the championship again in Houston. So you go through this ride of being the benefits of the 94 Rockets. They beat the Knicks in 7. The whole city's crazy. They're expanding the department, new owner. He's hiring people every day. We go on another magical run. Elijah One's just out of his mind. We beat Orlando and sweep them in 4 straight. But, you know, that created jobs. Winning creates jobs. I go through the season, you know, they hire me as the video coordinator for $20,000, and I am elated, you know, to go from Mount Vernon Nazarene. But my foundation that I learned from Coach Fleming, Coach Veal, Coach Fury, Coach Swanson, everybody that was in that athletic department allowed me to be successful in the NBA. And that's how it started. You know, I went from an intern to a video coordinator to, in 5 years, being on the bench as an assistant coach, and then moving up. And, This is, I'm in Utah now with the Jazz. This is my 5th NBA team. I've got 2 rings. Did some years at Division I college, went back, and it's just been a crazy, crazy ride. But it literally started with a blind letter. So I am a huge, huge fan, and same as you, talk to anybody about internships. You've got to get in, you've got to network, you've got to meet and greet. Of all my jobs that I've had, whether it is in the NBA or in at George Mason or the University of South Florida, it's never been because of my resume or having a master's degree. It's been all because of networking and other coaches that I've known.
And you just nailed all of it. That's the story I tell. It's a little more elevator speechish when I tell it, but that's the story I tell.
Play music.
No. Some Guns N' Roses, Patience, elevator music when I tell it. But no, that's the story I tell. Is the reality is, like, I want all of them to understand. And you just talked about it. It is a process. This is not an overnight success. You're not Aaron Andrews on the sideline overnight. Yes. It is a grind. It's a lot of work. And the people that have something special. So let me go back to what I said at the beginning. When you walked in the gym at Mount Vernon, and everybody was like, man, who's this guy? There's an it factor that you have that I have to think. You said it's not about resume. It is about a personality. It's about a connectedness. It's about people and connecting with people. And you've always had that from the first day I met you. I'm like, I got to know this guy because he's pretty special. So there's a lot in that mix when you're making that bowl of soup to become whatever it is you want to become. It's not just one ingredient. There's a lot in there.
I appreciate that, Aaron. I think that any young person, and networking is just so key, and putting yourself out there and shaking hands, although we're not supposed to shake hands anymore. We can socially distance on Zoom, but just talking, you never know. Like us doing this Zoom, can you imagine 25 years ago that we would be sitting here doing this? I mean, I had no idea. My goal was to probably be a high school coach and an athletic director, or even to get from Mount Vernon to a Division I university, just getting to that type of situation. And the NBA thing just was a fluke, and it kind of fell in my lap a little bit. But networking, there's so many different paths. Somebody might be able to open a door for you at some point. And, the key, like, it doesn't matter the school either. Like Mount Vernon Nazarene absolutely helped me get to where I am today. Coach Fleming having confidence in me and giving me an opportunity, after basketball, even though I wasn't a great player, to sit there and say, hey, I know you like basketball. I know you can coach. You have a good feel for this. Why don't you come in here and help and see what you think? Without that opportunity, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. But again, I think there's some personal, what's the word I'm looking for? There's some personality there that you have. That's a magnetic. God built you for this at the end of the day, and I believe that. I always have. I mean, you just have this again. People texted me last night going, "When's Wells coming on?" Like they want to know when. You leave your mark wherever that is, and you've done that. And I honestly, again, it's been years since you and I have actually sat down and had a conversation, but. I watch. I know a lot of people watch. We turn on the Jazz game to see where's Wells at behind the bench. I'm telling my son when we're watching the game, I'm freezing the screen if I can and going, see that guy right there? I know that guy. I played hoop with that guy. He used to tear me up. But no, he used to dunk on me at the dunk hoops. But no, man, there's a personality. And I'm not saying that universities and degrees and all the grind aren't worth it, because it's all, again, it's a soup, it's a mix. But at the end of the day, I think personality for you has been that key. So it was no surprise to me when somebody opened the door this much, that you were able to put your foot in it and then blow that door wide open and have all the opportunities that you've had. There's no shock to me whatsoever.
You got to embrace the grind, right? And you can't have a bad day. That was one thing that Rudy T used to tell me in Houston all the time as a young guy is, you got to be organized. You got to come to work prepared every day, and you can't have a bad day. Having a bad day is going to piss somebody else off, probably. And you're not in a position to do that. You've got to be the utmost professional. Like when you come through that deal, your personality's got to come out. You're a worker, you're a grinder, and at the beginning, as with all these young positions, like you're not going to get paid. Like you just you got to embrace kind of the suck, right? It's like, man, this is hard, but you know what? That makes it better at the end of the deal. And then when you do get opportunities and you do start climbing the ladder, so to speak, then you appreciate it a little bit more and you keep going, right? So
For sure.
I think that's key, right? Just keep going. Just don't come in that bad day, because it's great. We both are in sports. Whatever area it is, I get to come into the gym. The gym is right out there. I can see the gym right now. Joe Ingles is out there shooting right now. So, I get to look out the window at somebody like that. It's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and again, there's a lot of speed bumps. There's a lot of off ramps. There's a lot of stuff in between. It's not a direct shot. And maybe for some people it is, for a player, let's just say any player that you could name that's currently on ESPN's, First Take or whatever it is, they played. And so again, that was, but again, they had to grind. They had to grind as a player to get the opportunity to be on First Take as an analyst. For the rest of us,
it's putting in your hours, right?
Right. And for intramural champions like myself, there's a lot of other grinds that didn't include playing. So.
Yeah, but you're still involved in it. Everybody's past different, right? I mean, we're just trying to get to a place where we're happy. I don't know. I mean, we got to figure out how in life at the end of the day that you can look back and say, man, I enjoyed that ride.
Right. Right.
Man, who knows what the right path is? Everybody's path's different. That's for sure. I mean, I still don't believe that I get to drive in here every day. So, just embrace, figure it out. What is your path? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. So you covered one of my questions. You have how many rings?
2. Got 2. I'm very lucky. My first year in Houston, we beat Orlando 4-0. Nick Anderson misses 4 free throws at the end of the game there, and Kenny Smith, who's now on TNT, makes a couple, and then we win it. And we steal that first game in Orlando. And then the 07, LeBron's first run to the finals with the Cavs, and I was in San Antonio, and that was a 4-0. So I tell everybody, hey, I'm the only guy in NBA history. If you get me to the finals, we're guaranteed. I'm 8-0. I've never lost a finals game. That's all we got to do is get there, brother. Now, It might be because of Akeem Olajuwon and Tim Duncan, but I'm still going to, I'm going to go ahead and wave the white towel like ML Carr or somebody.
Well, I was talking to my assistant this morning. I was telling her about this, and I said, here's the deal. The guy's got more rings than Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, and she's 20 something. So she doesn't have a clue who I'm talking about. Yeah, Barkley, she knows. Karl Malone, she doesn't know.
Lucky,
At the end of the day, there's a lot of, let's go look at the Team USA picture. There's a lot of guys in that picture. Reggie Miller. There's a lot of guys in that picture that don't have a ring, and you got 2. So, hey,
I probably should talk about that too. 2000, Rudy was the head coach of the 2000 Olympic team that had just great players, and that team won a gold medal. Just being around those guys, other opportunities just from being involved with basketball and being able to do USA basketball 4 different times, or Basketball Without Borders. Is a youth program that the NBA runs to try to grow the game. I know you had Coach Fleming on here. He's in India with the NBA Academy trying to grow the sport of basketball in India. And 2 summers ago, I got to go to India with the NBA and spend a whole week with Scott and Sean in New Delhi and coach a team and go to dinner with him. And how this thing goes full circle. I mean, who would have ever thought I would be sitting at a table with Scott Fleming, in New Delhi, talking about basketball, but it's a small world and it leads to different things, right?
Yeah. And I think you pay your dues, and you've paid your dues. And I let's go ahead and bring it up, because I asked Coach Fleming if there was a spot on the roster for an intramural champion that never tried out. And he mentioned you. So I don't want to say that you took my spot, because you actually tried out and I didn't. So good for you.
yeah, for sure.
I was thinking about this morning. I'm like, man, Wells took my spot. No, I never tried out. I didn't have the guts to step into it at that moment. And honestly, you were a better player than I was, so you deserved it. So
that was all fun too. I mean, it was like us being in the gym. It was like, if I'm going to be in the gym all the time, I might as well let's see if I can at least be on the team. And then you make friends with Chris Masson or Mark Boissard, or my former roommate Dave Shoewater, and Shoe was the man, and those things just kind of happen. But it was a great time. That's for sure.
Well, at the end of the day, it's led to where you are today,
Right.
and that's what's pretty cool. So can you tell, we talked about this just briefly offline before I clicked record. And let me start again. Ground rule of Unscripted is if there's a question you can't answer, you say pass. So can you tell the story about, I believe it was asking Michael Jordan to get you a beer?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So Charles Barkley plays for us in Houston. 97, we had a really good team. Unfortunately, that's when John Stockton makes the three and knocks us out of the finals. But we really felt like, going back, that we had a shot to beat the Bulls. Now, we probably didn't, but it would have been a fun matchup. But in 99, it's beginning of 2000, I guess, season. It's Charles' last year, and we go to Phoenix. His house is still in Phoenix, and we don't ever usually do this, but Charles was a little different player, and he asked Rudy T and Jim Boylan and myself to come out to his house. He goes, "Hey, we're in Phoenix. Why don't you guys come out for dinner? This is probably the last year I'm going to play." And we do. And when we get to his house, his wife just says, "Hey, he's in the theater room. Just walk on back there." So we stroll on through this house. It's like this, and you're walking for like a mile, it feels like. And you walk into this room, and there's Charles and Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods. And it's like, what is going on? And we just thought we were going to dinner, but it was a strike year or something, maybe. I don't remember why they were all in. Michael's obviously retired. Tiger's in town for a golf tournament or something. So they're all buddies and they're hanging out. And we ended up just watching the NBA package together. And those guys are commenting on everybody. And you're just sitting around like, if you could pick the people to go to dinner, you always have these fantasy dinner things. And if you could say your sports fantasy dinner, I would think that would probably be one of them. So I'm just sitting in the back row, and I'm just sitting there watching, like, the kid in the candy store. Like, I cannot believe I'm sitting in this room and listening to these guys talk hoops all night. And, they're flipping through different games, and they're just ripping people. And, they're good players, Tiger was a young guy. He's so respectful. He's asking questions of both of them about players, but you're literally just going, I can't believe that I'm listening to this. And so dinner goes on, and we're having dinner and everything. And Michael's like getting up and walking to the refrigerator, and he looks at the table and he's like, "Hey, does anybody need anything?" And I'm thinking, sure. It's like one of those things. I didn't really want it. I didn't even really need it, but it was more about the point of asking,
right?
Anybody need anything? And everybody said, yeah, I'll take a beer. And he came back and handed me a beer. I'm like, this is unbelievable.
That's right. It wasn't in The Last Dance, but it should have been. It really should have been.
It was just one of those deals that you're still just sitting there the whole night thinking, this conversation, and kind of being the fly on the wall, and just listening the whole time, and trying to learn their personalities and their views. And, even watching games, the competitiveness of those three just oozes out of what they're talking about with certain players, or, how aggressive that guy is, the respect for some guys, the lack of respect for some guys. And Tiger just asking so many questions. In 97, he's young, he's coming up through, or 2000, sorry. But it was just really a unique night. It's one of those deals you just, I guess you could cross off the list.
Well, I haven't forgotten it since standing at Sporting Shoes around the clothing rack. You telling that story, I've never forgotten it, ever.
I ran out of there, and it's like literally like 3 or 4 in the morning in Mount Vernon, and I had to call my mom. And I'm just like, you're not going to believe this.
Trying to wake you.
Oh, I'm like, you wake up. You got to wait. You got to hear this.
Well, I a similar story, and I've had the blessing of being with Bo Jackson a few times. He was doing something in Columbus for us, and I was kind of his handler for the night. So we ended up being in this little shoebox of a room, and I swear it was like a walk-in closet size room backstage. And at some point they bring in Archie Manning, or not Archie Manning, I'm sorry, Archie Griffith, because we're in Ohio, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, Archie's on one side and Bo's on the other. And it was a very similar experience. And I'm texting Maston, and I said, man, you're not going to believe it. I couldn't even do like a selfie because I want to be respectful, right? Those guys are like, and I text Maston, I said, man, you're not going to believe this. I'm sitting between Archie and Bo right now. And like you said, man, I just went to Mount Vernon. I got 13 on my ACT. I don't belong in this room. And Maston replied and he said, you need to take a picture and post it and say there's 3 Heismans in this room right now.
2 of them are in this picture.
I didn't do it, but no, it was awesome.
It's how sports opens doors, and you are just a couple removed from anybody. And, you know, it's amazing how you just find yourself in those situations sometimes, right?
Yeah.
I cannot believe I'm sitting right here.
Right, exactly. And you're like, you know, I don't belong here. This is crazy. But at the same time, you know, they're just guys. And that's what I've learned. And you know this too. I mean, gifted, incredible, exceptional, probably have a lot more money than you and I will ever see. But at the end of the day, they're just guys. They're guys that have great stories. I mean, I could listen to Bo tell stories, and he's told me some great stories. But we could listen to those stories, and they're great. But at the end of the day, man, they live and breathe just like you and I do.
Absolutely.
You know, wouldn't you agree? After being around all the guys,
like, and that's the thing is they just happen to have this gene that we can't even really identify with,
right?
Of how talented and gifted they are. But as in just guys, you know, of all the years being around guys like great players, you know, Kobe in LA, the Tim, Tony, Manu in San Antonio, the guys we had in Houston and Charles and Hakeem, Scottie Pippen, just great people. They're people. Like they might have a competitive gene, they have an athletic gene that's crazy, but really just normal guys. They might have different problems than you and I, but really when you're talking to them and you're on the athletic field or coaching wise, they're great.
Right. All right. And I promise I'm not going to take a ton of your time. I know you are an absolutely busy guy. You got the draft coming up and things like that. So rapid fire stuff. You ready?
Yep.
And I'm making these up as I go. So, all right. First off, favorite player you've ever even been around in the NBA?
Charles
Barkley.
Yeah. Or Kobe, one or the other, but for different reasons.
Okay. All right. And my dog may start to bark because the delivery person's walking up to the window right now. All right. And favorite city you've ever coached in that you've been on, of all the teams you've been on, what and why?
Two answers again. At San Antonio, because it was a smaller town, the team was unbelievable at the time. And then I was in LA with the Lakers for 9 months, living in Hermosa Beach. You know, it just was surreal. You know, Mount Vernon kid living in a townhome on Hermosa Beach, you know, coaching Lakers. It's like, this is weird.
Yeah. I already know this, but your favorite coach you've worked under?
Rudy T for sure would be number one. But, you know, fortunate to work for several Hall of Famers. You know, Coach Popovich in San Antonio is unbelievable. Jeff Van Gundy, you guys see him on TV now, but an amazing detail guy. Quinn Snyder here now. Quinn's as good as any of them. I'm telling you, as good as any of them in his organization, detail, and being prepared.
And so I had an Inside Carolina guy on a few weeks ago, and we were talking hoops, and Coach K is not getting any younger. Neither's Roy. And, you know, we started throwing out some names as far as who could succeed replace succession. What? I don't know. I'm not that bright, man. You know that. So anyway, take over, I think is the words I'm looking for. But Quinn Snyder's name came up for Duke. That would be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, him and Quinn and, you know, Coach K still talk. That tree's got a lot of branches on it with a lot of great coaches. A lot of years. I know Coach K talked to him the other day, and Coach K was telling him he was preparing his 4,290th practice plan. He has them numbered. Yeah. He knew exactly what practice he was on after all these years. So, you know, Quinn will always have opportunities after the success, you know, the 6 years here and being a playoff team, the 4 years. I think that, you know, we've won some series, fortunately, and, you know, those opportunities are always going to happen for him. And
I tell you, the bubble, they had a great run, right? Conley just misses one shot, man. It was,
you know,
it was going in.
Tough one, and you know, and Murray and Jokic were hot.
Awesome.
You know, you run into that in the NBA, and we couldn't get them out of their rhythm. You know, you're always trying to break somebody's rhythm, like everything else in life. You know, if somebody's got a hot hand, they're rolling. That's why everybody goes to Vegas, right? And he was hot at that time, and I think Donovan was equally as hot.
Amazing.
We just couldn't get him out of his rhythm quick enough. And, you know, we'll go back to the drawing board here on Wednesday, and then free agent a few days later and camp on the 1st, and we'll see if we can do it again.
Man, it was fun to watch. It was Bird and Dominique type stuff to watch. Just going back and forth. What a great series! And the NBA did a fantastic job with the bubble. They absolutely did. It was
The organization and the detail.
Yeah.
The behind the scenes stuff that you didn't see was unbelievable. I cannot, the trailers that people work in.
Yeah.
There had to be 150 of them to organize the whole thing. It was just a massive project in the way they pulled it out. I feel like we have the best commissioner and the best professional league of any sport. And what they did in Orlando was just amazing.
I promise not to run this too much. I won't do anything is Grayson Allen a good guy?
Unbelievable.
Really?
Unbelievable competitor. I think some of the Duke guys, whether it's JJ Redick or, Grayson and some of the guys that have come up through that are shooters and, they just have to ooze confidence. Like in this league, you're going to have dudes come at you all the time.
Right.
As you're coming up through and you're a really good player and you start getting publicity and you get this little ranking number beside you, well, that's a target.
Right.
And dudes are coming at you. And for like Grayson, guys have been coming at him, since he was in 9th grade because he's been, quote, like one of the top players in the country. And people are looking at him and they're saying, sizing him up. Well, he's not that big and he doesn't shoot it that well and he's not that fast. But as a coach, when you're coaching him, you just love his grit. Like every day, I coached him in his first summer league here in Utah for a week. And I got the same questions about him. And it's like, you don't ever have to worry about him, right? You don't have to worry about his competitiveness. And as a coach, you want somebody that you do have to back off at times. And, he's probably crossed the line at times because of his competitiveness. And then you figure it out. And I thought he had an unbelievable bubble for Memphis this year. He shot the ball really well down there. But yeah, it's a long answer, but you just love him. You just love him. I mean, he's going to fight for you and he's competitive. And he's going to want the ball at the end of the game, and you'd love to see that from guys.
Well, that'll make Jeff Corbini real happy because he's a Duke fan, and I'm not. So you're supposed to tell me he's a bad guy, he's a dirtbag, whatever. But
we've got some Carolina guys here right now, and Tony Bradley.
Bradley.
We've got some bigs here that run the Carolina. So Quinn, being a Duke guy, and our North Carolina guys go back and forth all the time.
It's got to be fun. I mean, especially because they're past it now, right? They're not in the throes of the rivalry.
Tony's still going to come in his North Carolina shorts on the day that Duke's playing, and there's going to be a little friendly wager on the side. And, when you get a chance to play for those programs, that stuff's never, ever going to go away. You have pride in your school and your program the same way we do at Mount Vernon. And you have an unbelievable pride right now. Your son playing baseball there. It's a different type of deal, but it never goes away.
Yeah.
Never goes.
Well, man, Wells, I could talk to you all night. I know you got a lot of other things to do. And
I'm going to jump on a Zoom meeting right here. We got a draft coming up, and I'm going to listen to some guys talk about these guys and
crazy.
See if we can figure it out for 23.
Well, man, I wish you nothing but continued success. I watch from afar. I know I'm not the only one because, like I said, I received multiple texts saying when Wells is going to be on. So I got to hurry up and get this out because a lot of people are expecting.
Well, we just need to do it again. We could talk longer, so we just got to do it more. And I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. Well, best of luck to you. Best of luck in the draft. Best of luck in all that you do. Thanks for making Mount Vernon and all of us that knew you proud. I'm just proud to say I'm a friend. Hopefully, saying I'm a friend because I have all these years, and I'm real proud of you. And thanks for your story because I've used it for 20 years now for kids that have this vision. And I share that story so often because it's true. There's a grind, but you can get there. But you're gonna have to work hard, and you put in the work, and you reap all the rewards and all the rings you can get.
Yeah, and I would follow that up with education too. Whether it's high school and college, and doesn't matter how big a school, but Rudy too used to always tell everybody, education is the key. And once you have the key, no door will ever be locked for you. We don't know what door is going to be opened. And my degree at Mount Vernon Nazarene, I had no idea that could open up an MBA door for me, but I have the key. I have a diploma that says that I graduated from school. We were all there. It's the friendships, it's a network, but that door, I could open a door and get through there. because of the people out in Mount Vernon Nazarene. So, I can't emphasize enough, get to school, do it, and get a key, and keep shaking hands, and who knows what'll happen.
And I'll say it again, be like Wells. Love people, care for people, be the life of the room. Don't be afraid to engage people you don't even know, or some kid from Cleveland that is a terrible basketball player that you want to just, treat with kindness.
Yeah, but you thought you were good.
What's that?
You thought you were good.
Absolutely.
See, you had a confidence, and you had those North Carolina shorts on and that big North Carolina wristband. Like, you had a swagger about you that let us know, like, hey, I'm playing. Like, I'm not sure how this is going to go, but I'm playing.
I'm here. And
That's
then
right.
and then reffing we won't even talk about reffing at the YMCA on Saturdays. And the one coach that said he would not put his team on the floor because I was reffing. You remember that?
Yeah. Yeah. Those are crazier times. That's a whole nother half an hour broadcast. Sorry.
Absolutely, man. Let's do it again. Wish you the best. Thanks for coming on, brother. Love you. Yeah. Be well. I'll talk to you.
Okay.
Thanks, man.